Stop me, here we go. Check and turn the signals to the right. Check and turn the signals to the right. Now turn to the right. Now turn to the left. Stop me, here.
Set up the flaps, turn the lights, fasten your seatbelt for the fight.
Get up in the morning, run on the track, show me what you got, soldier.
Get up in the morning, put 'em on the track, show me what you got, soldier.
Did I eat my drink?
Did you eat your drink?
I thought milk was pink.
You thought milk was pink.
Autopilot on, autopilot off.
Autopilot on, autopilot off.
Little bit of this, little bit of that.
Little bit of this, little bit of that.
Just give me your munchies.
Just give me your munchies.
I wonder where lunch is.
I wonder where lunch is.
Wear your bulletproof vest.
Wear your bulletproof vest.
Always give it your best.
Always give it your best.
I miss my train.
You miss your train?
I miss my brain.
May I help you?
Set up the flaps, turn the light, fasten the seatbelts for the fight.
Set up the flaps, turn the lights, fasten your seatbelt for the fight.
Get up in the morning, run on the track, show me what you got, soldier.
Get up in the morning, put 'em on the track, show me what you got, soldier.
Bring all the food and the drinks off for me.
Bring all the food and the drinks all for me.
I want some apples and blueberries to eat.
I want some apples and blueberries to eat.
You think I'm old, you think I'm cold. I may be bold, you're right, I never had the gold.
I think you're old, I think you're cold. You may be bold, I'm right, you never had the gold.
But I don't care, even if I don't have hair. The only thing that matters in life to take care.
But you don't care, even if you don't have hair. The only thing that matters in life's to take care.
I miss my train,
You miss your train?
I miss my brain.
May I help you?
Throttle up, flaps down.
Throttle up, flaps down.
Power up, gears down.
Power up, gears down.
I'm losing beats.
You're losing beats.
I want my sheets.
You want your sheets.
Autopilot on, autopilot off.
Autopilot on, autopilot off.
Little bit of this, little bit of that.
Little bit of this, little bit of that.
Just give me your munchies.
Just give me your munchies.
I wonder where lunch is.
I wonder where lunch is.
Wear your bulletproof vest.
Wear your bulletproof vest.
Always give it your best.
Always give it your best.
Do you think that I'm old enough to fly? I don't know, son. I just wanna try.
Do I think that you're old enough to fly? I don't know, sir. You just wanna try.
I'm still wondering when I die. I hope I get to eat. I hope I don't cry.
You're still wondering when you die. You hope you get to eat. You hope you don't cry.
That was gooder than good. Congratulations.
Check that out. It's my lucky day.
That's right. I'm in the house. Here it comes. Extra, extra. Read all about it. The best burgers in town from all around. People from around the world come and get it. The line goes around like a merry-go-round. Cut, cut.
Cut.
Heat, heat. Yes, very good. And toast, toast. Toast. Cook. Come on, then. Cut. Nice. Eat. Toast. Very nice. Cook. I have not nothing more to teach. Let me rest in peace.
Cook those burgers, cutlet those burgers, cutlet heat to burn those burgers, those cutlet burgers, tuna those burgers, cutlet those burgers, fed those burgers, those cutlet tuna burgers, cutlet fed those burgers, those cutlet burgers, those burgers, toast tuna grill, heat fed the cutlet, cook those burgers, tuna buns, toast fed cutlet grill, heat exit buns, those French burgers, tuna those cutlet fed the grill, heat grill cutlet exit buns, tuna burger, those fed the cutlet exit cook those burgers, tuna toast fed the cutlet exit cook those burgers, tuna cutlet fed the heat grill buns, exit cook those tuna cutlet fed the burger, those burgers exit cutlet tuna those burgers fed the exit grill heat toast buns, fed those burgers exit tuna those burgers fed the French fries exit those burgers, tuna those fed the exit grill heat grill buns, toast fed the burgers exit those burgers, tuna cutlet fed the heat grill exit buns, those burgers tuna cutlet fed the cook those burgers, those exit cutlet tuna heat grill fed the buns exit cut burgers, toast lettuce fed heat buns exit those burgers, tuna cutlet French fries fed those burgers exit cutlet tuna lettuce toast fed the burgers exit cut grill toast buns, those burgers fed those burgers exit lettuce hot fries cook those tuna lettuce hot fed the burgers exit lettuce hot heat grill heat tuna toast buns fed those burgers exit lettuce hot tuna cook those burgers fed French fries execute those tuna lettuce hot fed the burgers exit lettuce hot tuna those burgers fed the toast buns exit lettuce hot tuna those fed the lettuce hot exit burgers cook those tuna lettuce hot burgers fed the lettuce hot execute those tuna lettuce hot fed the burgers exit those toast burgers cook those burgers fed the lettuce hot lettuce cook those burgers tuna hot fed the buns those burgers tuna lettuce hot fed the grill heat toast exit those burgers tuna hot lettuce fed the cook those exit buns tuna burgers fed the cut
Yeah, you the man, terrifica.
That was a party, and I feel fine.
Yes, it is time to get romantic. Time to get romantic, yes indeed, that's for sure. The kick punch style remains very secure. Never bending, always the fast to make a move. This time we get down nice and slow. Love kick,
Love kick,
love punch, love
punch,
duck,
duck,
love turn, love chop, love twist, love pull,
love pose,
love hard,
love hard,
smooth, punch, sweet chop,
sweet chop,
love fight.
love fight,
Because I'm smooth, with a groove so new, I wish everybody had the same point of view. Meet me at the corner, pick you up at 7. Wear your best dress and I'll take you to heaven. Yes. Hi. Hold hands, face to face. Get romantic, let's get it on. Style, love, style. You and me. Forever. Never too hard. Look up in the sky. Stars, see the stars. I hold you tight. Lovers we are. I'm the sensei, you are my students. But before that, you and I are friends. We know each other anywhere we can. We all need love, no matter woman or a man. Smooth like butter. Caress your lover. Enjoy the moment. Won't last forever. Punching love. Chop. It's all about the mind.
It's talk about the mind.
Tamanegi. Ich, ni, son. Now it's your turn. Show me freestyle.
soft chop, look up in the sky, sweet, I'm soft chop, punch, hold you see, soft chop, kick, star, look up in the soft chop, punch, love, tight, love, sweet, soft chop, sky, see, soft chop, punch, soft chop, look up in the kick, chop, soft bear, need a good lawyer, soft love, punch, love, hold you the sky, see, look up, sweet in the sky, see, star, look up tight, love, soft chop, kick, punch, love, I'm a soft chop, sweet in the sky, see, star, kick, soft chop, love, punch, look up, soft chop, love in the sky, taxpayer, hold you tight, kick, punch, love, punch, chop, see, star, sweet, soft chop, love, look up in the soft chop, punch, kick, soft, need a good chop, soft, love, chop, big sky, see, punch, soft chop, sweet, star, soft chop, love, punch, hold you, look up, kick, lawyer, I'm chop, sweet, punch, in the soft tight, love, chop, kick, sky, see, star, punch, soft chop, sweet, look up in the chop, love, sky, soft kick, see, star, look up, taxpayer.
Congratulations, hallelujah, Banzai 3, you are the best. See you again on Romantic Karate.
So, this is romantic.
Attention! Come on, everybody, let's go! Up to it! 1, 2, let's go! Come on! Fancy cars, gold chains don't mean a thing. Word to your brain, fame is my game. Ride the terrain, smooth with no pain. I come from the streets, no such thing as pain. Do the jump, do the jump.
Do the jump, do the jump.
Do the flip, do the flip.
Do the flip, do the flip.
Don't lose the grip, don't lose the grip.
Don't lose grip, don't lose grip.
To the left, to the left,
To the left, to the left.
I'm the rap, I'm the rap.
I'm the rap.
Hey, you sure know how to train. I have nothing to teach you no more.
Get to right now, every time. Remember, single, do it, day. You got, please do this right now. Never that without single, do it, day. Right, take, break. You got, remember, do this, do it, click, every now. Right, single, careful all day. Never, you got, do now. Right, every now without single, do it, click, do day. Right now, you got your, do this, every right. Remember, down, single, every day. Tight, please take, you got what right. Do this, do it, every right now, single. Remember, down, day. You got, break, do right now. Right, every without right, single, click, do, click, day. Right, you got, do now. Right, every carry, count, single. Remember, day. Do it, you got it for all your time. Please do this now. Right now, every your single. And bend down without day. Do it, you got it. Do this right now. Right, single. You carry, count, day. Do it, you got it. Remember, do this for all your every single. Right now, day. And bend, you got it now. Do this, do it every time. Single, carry, day. Right now, right, you got it for all. Do this without every. Do it, click, single. And bend, day. Please, you got it. Remember, do this now. Right, every take single. Right, day. Count, you got it. Do it, do this. Never down, every without. Remember, single. Break, day. You're tired. You got it. Right, do this for all every your every single. Do it, day. Never, you got carry. Do this, please take break every now. Right, single. Right, day. For your, you got down. Do this, do it, click, do it every single. Day. Now, you got without right. Remember, do this, carry every. Do it, day. Right now, you got down. Click, do right without every time. Do it, click, single. Count, day. Now, you right. Do this, please take every right now. Your day. You got do this. Remember, every do it, single. Carry day. Break. You got down with right. Do this, right every count for all single. Click, do click, day. You got remember your every do it. Never down single. You got day without right. Remember, you got count for all. Do this, please every right single. Your day. Do it. You never down. Do every take a single. Right day. You got click. Do this without every break. Single. Right day. Count. You got right. Do it. Click. Every all single. Day. Right now. You got your every do this. Remember. Do it. Every carry single. Day. Never. You got right. Right. Do this. Every all every do it. Single. Down with the day. Every you got please do this now. Every right. Remember. Click. Carry. Count. Day. Take you right. Never do it for all break. Every now. Single. Click. Down. You got adventure. Do right now. Without you single. Do it. Day. Count. You got your tight. Do this for all your every right. Remember. Single. Every day. Right. You got carry. Do it. Count. Never single for all your day. Please take. You got every do this now. Every carry down. Single. Click. Do it. Day. Count. You got right now. Do this without remember every for all your single. Break. Day. Right now. You got adventure. Do this. Count for your every never single. Day. Right now with right. You got adventure. Too tight. Please every now. Remember single. Click. Day. Count. You got right now. you got it down. Do this, you carry every right single for all day. Flick through it, you got your advance. Do this, you're tired. Every you carry single right day for all you got without a.
You're the best I've ever seen. Let's take a picture.
I'd be glad to. I feel fine.
Hiya! Omedetou and congratulations! It's time for the bonus game! He's ready, push, kick, punch or chop, but not before they are ready. Let's begin! Time's up!
Introducing the new flavor! Cutting hair can be fabulous. So don't just stand there. Come inside, have a seat, and relax. I promise you, everything will be alright. Okay, baby, let's go. We're going to do it like this. Sip, 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 sip,
Flip, flip, flip.
trim, trim, trim,
Trim, trim, trim, trim.
cut, 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 cut,
Cut, cut.
shave, shave, shave,
Shave, shave, shave, shave.
tip, trim, cut,
Flip, trim, cut.
cut, tip, shave,
Cut, flip, flip, shave.
shave, trim, die,
Shave, trim, die.
tip, trim, cut.
Flip, trim, cut.
Simple, simple, just like that. I do braids and afros, crew cuts and more. Always energetic, smooth with a kick. Listen to the music, I keep up the mix. Tip, flip, flip, flip,
Flip, flip.
flip, flip, flip.
Flip, 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 flip.
Cut, cut, cut.
Cut, cut, cut.
Caramba! I hate it when there's a lot of hair on the floor. Here, I'll go clean up.
Keep on cut it, like my die. Yeah, stop, good. My bloody fight with it. Sound just backing up, right. Move it up. I'm not moving. I cut it. Stop. I'm lazy. My head like biting down. Just keep moving. Give it. I'm the call. My die. Stop backing up, right. My bloody fight. Yeah, just you up with it. Move it. Cut it. I'm rich. My head like top block. My fly fight down. I give it just been down. Move it. Backing. I'm good. I'm not right. Stop moving. Keep up to you. Fight. Stop. Yeah, just make it. Move it at all. I'm cutting. My fly. Stop up with it. My head like blow up. Backing up. Fight. Stop. Okay, just down. I give it. Move it. Right. Cut it. I'm in. Down. Got my hair like backing up. Red good. My bloody fight. I'm making you look tall. Just not blue. Here. Blow up. I'm right. My fly. Okay, stop. Cut it. Up you all. With it. Fight down. Die. It up. Just fly. Move it down. I give it to you. Not up and stop. Red good. My head like fight. Keep flying. Just down. Die. Move it back up. I'm all. With it down. I'm here. Blow up and stop. Move it. Keep up. I give it to you. Fight. Cut it. Just. I'm made look. Move it. Die. I'm here. Like my bloody stop. You all. I'm backing up. Front. Right here. Blow up and just tall. Move it. Cut your hair. I'm not moving. Not down. Die. Stop. Backing up. Keep flying.
Na 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 na, na 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 na, wham bam, Tesla cam.
Vic was driving his Model 3 with autopilot engaged in Springfield, Virginia. Autopilot merged to the left to put Vic in one of the 3 lanes heading toward I-395 North. Autopilot slowly started to overtake a semi-truck on Vic's left that was driving a little under the speed limit. Right then, the truck driver decided to move over 1 lane, merging into the lane where Vic was driving. The driver used his turn signal, but Vic didn't notice because the truck was in his blind spot. Unfortunately, Vic was also in the truck driver's blind spot. The truck hit his Tesla, and Vic says Autopilot didn't react to avoid the collision, but Autopilot did sound an alarm when the impact occurred, which alerted him to quickly take over and save the car from spinning out. Vic showed his Tesla cam footage to the state trooper that responded to the accident, proving that Vic had been in his own lane the entire time and that the truck had crashed into him. The truck driver was found to be at fault and received a citation. The repair estimate for the Tesla was $9,800. Luckily, the Tesla cam footage made the insurance process simple. Vic has been told it'll take up to a month to receive replacement parts due to supply shortages. Callie was driving her Model Y in Jacksonville, Florida, traveling eastbound on I-10, about to head northbound on I-295. The driver of a Kia Soul must have realized she was in the exit lane and decided to merge back to I-10 without checking to see if the way was clear. The Kia hit the front end of the Tesla, but Callie managed to regain control of the car before stopping behind the Kia to have a word with the driver. Callie says that the girl driving the Kia was very nice and hadn't realized that the lane was ending. She admitted to making a bad decision by not checking to see if the way was clear. Callie contacted the Florida Highway Patrol but says she probably won't file a claim since her husband was able to fix up the car with some elbow grease. She'll still get a vehicle inspection and she does have some back pain, but she's hoping it isn't serious. If the inspection finds any internal damage to the car or if her back isn't better soon, she'll have to file that insurance claim after all. The photos showing where the car looks almost undamaged were taken after her husband managed to clean most of the Kia's black paint off. Mahmoud was driving in Stamford, Connecticut with his wife when suddenly kids were riding bikes in the middle of the 2-lane road. One of them wasn't paying attention and hit the front of the Tesla, crushing the bike. There was a minor scratch on the car, but the kid fractured his arm and was taken to a hospital. Mahmoud followed up with him to see how he's doing, and he's doing a lot better now. While taking down his information, the police saw Mahmoud's Tesla cam footage on the Tesla's screen and just said, "Wow, technology is so cool." Mahmoud didn't file an insurance claim since he considers the damage too minor. Would you file a claim for this damage or just let it go? Leave a comment and let us know. Joe was driving his Model 3 in Prosper, Texas when he noticed a pickup truck coming up behind him. Joe told us he's sure he had no previous interaction with this truck and had never seen it before. The truck flew up behind him and started following him through the neighborhood. When they approached an intersection, the passenger of the truck leaned out and threw a rock at the Tesla. Luckily, he had a weak throwing arm and the rock missed. Joe heard him yelling something unintelligible as they sped off. Mac works at a Tesla service center in Orlando, Florida. There are only 2 people working there who drive Models S, Mac and one of his coworkers. As Model S pals, they've developed a routine of intentionally parking their cars next to each other. They always wave a good morning to each other's Sentry mode when they get to work. You've gotta love that. I also see you guys have some sweet Tesla merch. Well, what if we send you guys a couple of Wham Bam hoodies? Maybe you can recreate these clips with some Wham Bam merch on. Speaking of merch, we still need to announce the winners of 2 competitions. First up was the dad joke competition. Why did this truck driver throw a burrito at a Tesla? And the winning joke is, the guy threw the burrito because he knows Teslas don't have gas, so he wanted to make sure the driver did at least. The second competition was about the woman whose car door got caught in the wind, and we asked you to guess how much the repair estimate was. We got over 4,000 entries in this competition, with guesses ranging from $8,000 to $80,000 US. The correct answer was $1,300 US to repair the dent. There were actually 14 correct guesses, so we selected one of them as the winner at random. Congrats to both Josh and the dad joke expert. Hoodies are coming your way. Do you remember Jeff's dancing colleague who got a hoodie for being that week's real MVP? Well, Jeff's been at it again and sent us another video. This time he was on his way to Rancho Cucamonga for a dentist appointment when he noticed a pimped-out Jaguar speeding up behind him. The Jag was coming up really fast, and Jeff realized the other driver wasn't going to be able to stop. When the Jaguar driver noticed that, he locked up his brakes before sliding into the Kia in front of him. Jeff didn't have a chance to give the footage to the other driver because he was running late for his appointment, but he said this was the first time he'd witnessed a crash right in front of him. He also said he was able to make out the license plate from the video, 8FHF942, but he's not sure how to reach out to the vehicle's owner. Who knows, maybe this video will find them. Josh had parked his Model 3 in Hoboken, New Jersey. He felt comfortable parking in this particular area because the spaces were nice and wide. After coming back a few hours later, he reviewed his Sentry Mode events from the day. In one clip, a Jeep Grand Cherokee practically ran over his Tesla while trying to back into the next spot, even though there was plenty of room. After that, the Jeep just drove away. Josh hadn't noticed any damage when he'd first walked up, so he braced himself before exiting the Tesla to assess the passenger side. There was no damage to the bumper cover, the door, or anything else. Miraculously, only the side mirror was damaged. He made a police report at the scene and showed the responding officer his Sentry Mode footage. After looking up the license plate number, the officer found that the vehicle make and model matched a vehicle on record in Michigan. The vehicle color listed on the record was unknown, so the officer said he wasn't able to fully confirm it was the correct vehicle. Josh followed up with the officer via email, providing enhanced images and videos of the license plate. He asked to be updated when the driver of the vehicle was located so that he could file a claim with his or her insurance provider. Ian and his brother were inside eating at a Chick-fil-A in Loudoun County, Virginia, when Ian's car, the silver Dodge Stratus, was hit by another car in the parking lot. Ian thinks the cart demon must have wanted to do more damage than usual. Luckily for Ian, his brother's Tesla saw the whole thing and saved the footage of the incident. The damage seemed minimal at first, but Ian's insurance provider later totaled the car due to damage to the frame and rear suspension. Ian works at the Chick-fil-A, so everyone inside knew it was his car. Ian wanted to send along thanks to his manager Michelle for stopping the vehicle that hit his car, preventing the lady from driving away and making this a hit and run. They called the police, but they said they couldn't do anything because the accident had happened on private property. Ian filed an insurance claim, and 3 months later he finally got a check for the total value of the vehicle. This submitter wanted to spend a nice summer afternoon at the community swimming pool with his family, but just a few minutes after they'd parked their Tesla, a tree dropped a dead branch right on top of it. Right when this happened, a cyclist who was passing by stopped and showed great kindness by removing the fallen branch from the car, possibly preventing further damage. Fortunately, the whole Tesla had been coated with a paint protection film and there was no damage to the paint. After some quick help from the garage that had originally installed the PPF, the car was like new again. The submitter wants to send a thank you both to the cyclist as well as to Foley Center, the shop that helped him with the PPF. T was at the gym when he got a notification on his phone. It turned out that a Volkswagen driver had crashed into his parked Tesla. Another guy who'd been relaxing on his motorcycle saw the whole thing happen. When T came running out, the VW driver owned up to the accident. T thinks that was thanks to the biker nearby. At first, the VW owner wanted to pay for the damage he'd caused out of his own pocket, but when he realized how much it would likely cost, he refused to pay for it and suddenly denied any knowledge of the accident. The case is now being handled by the insurance companies. T provided his Sentry Mode footage, and his insurance provider told him the video makes this an open and shut case. This submitter was on his way to a dance class when there was a road closure right in front of the office complex where the class was held. Right as he was considering squeezing into the driveway, he saw a medical helicopter landing right in front of him. His next thought was, nope, not going to class today. Justin headed straight for that big jump. Wait, what? He's not taking the jump? Okay, I'll stick to the script. Justin was driving his Model 3 in Atlanta, Georgia. The driver of the Volkswagen in the left lane wasn't paying attention and didn't see traffic stopping in front of him. The white SUV in front of him saw him coming and started to swerve to the shoulder, but the VW did the same thing at the last second, barely missing the SUV. The VW never actually stopped and ended up passing 3 cars on the shoulder before rejoining traffic and continuing like nothing had happened. Chris was on his way to the grocery store when he noticed an elderly couple pointing at his car and looking very excited. Stopping, he rolled down his window and said hi to them, thinking they might be interested in the car. Surprisingly, the first thing they said to him was, "It is a Tesla!" He wasn't expecting that. Chris explained that his Tesla is a refreshed Model S Plaid. They started asking all sorts of questions like how long it takes to charge, if he charges at home, etc. At the end, the lady complimented the 21-inch black Arachnid wheels and said the car was beautiful. Chris says he's happy to see the older generation appreciating Teslas. If he runs into them again, he'll definitely offer to take them for a ride. Brandon had left his Model Y parked outside of a country restaurant near Martinsville, Indiana, when another driver carelessly let his door slam into the Tesla, leaving some of their paint and a dent in the front passenger door. The driver realized what he'd done and examined the damage more than once, but he didn't bother trying to remedy the situation, leaving the parking lot after getting food to go. Unfortunately, it looks like the video glitched at the worst possible time, right when the license plate would have been visible. If you've ever wondered why some videos have these glitches and artifacts, it's due to a slow USB drive being used, like the standard Tesla USB. TeslaCam writes 4 video files simultaneously, and you need to use a high-quality drive that can write files at high speeds and can be written to constantly and overwritten every day. High-speed memory cards will work, and so will SSD drives. We recommend the Samsung T5 SSD, which is inexpensive and very reliable. We put a link to it in the description so you can buy one on Amazon. Let's get back to Brandon, who hasn't been able to read the license plate from the video. He says it would be great if any of our viewers might recognize this guy. If you know who he is, contact us and we'll get the info to Brandon. He wants to file an insurance claim against the driver if he can figure out who he is. Alan from New Zealand sent us another video. He's using cameras on his bike, but he happens to catch a lot of Tesla action. This one might not show a lot of action, but it was his first time seeing a Tesla service vehicle out on a mobile mission. They look really cool, and the experience of having your vehicle repaired at home is truly amazing. He says it would be great if any of our viewers might recognize this guy. If you know who he is, contact us and we'll get the info to Brandon. He wants to file an insurance claim against the driver if he can figure out who he is. Alan from New Zealand sent us another video. He's using cameras on his bike, but he happens to catch a lot of Tesla action. This one might not show a lot of action, but it was his first time seeing a Tesla service vehicle out on a mobile mission. They look really cool, and the experience of having your vehicle repaired at home is truly amazing. Ash was driving their mom to California. They just dropped off their mother at the airport and were on their way home. A white car turned onto the street just as Ash was passing, so Ash moved to the left a bit as the other driver crossed into their lane. This annoyed Ash since they were driving just under 45 miles per hour because of the car in front, so the white car was probably going at least 60 miles per hour when it sped into the intersection. As the white car sped through the intersection, a silver car on the other side of the road made an unprotected left turn. They must have misjudged the speed of the white car, crashing into them. The white car got pushed into a tree by the impact. We can even see the leaves shake from the hit. The car then spun around before it finally stopped. Ash pulled over, and when the police arrived, an officer sat in their car and watched the TeslaCam footage, filming it with his body cam. Chris had left his Model 3 Performance parked outside of a bar near Dodgers Stadium in Los Angeles, California. Suddenly, he got a push notification that his alarm had been triggered. The alarm had been activated by a Dodgers fan who decided to jump on top of his Tesla. Chris rushed out, but the sports fan was already long gone. He noticed footprints all across his car, and when he got in the Tesla, he saw one of the footprints had caused a crack on his windshield. The vandal had also dented the corner of the trunk lid. Chris filed a police report and an insurance claim, but he has little hope that the vandal will be caught. Maybe this footage will help someone identify him. Chris told us it's hard to keep your car safe if you park on the streets of Los Angeles. He thinks that a parking lot or a garage is always a safer bet. He also said that after this incident, he's decided to cheer for the San Francisco Giants. Ben was driving his Model 3 on a highway in Zurich, Switzerland, when autopilot braked for the traffic that was piling up in front of him. The Škoda behind him also slowed down in time, but after that, the chaos began. The Škoda was rear-ended, and then cars just kept piling up, turning it into a huge multi-vehicle accident. Ben stopped, and thankfully everyone involved seemed to be okay. Unfortunately, the highway had to be completely shut down to clean up the carnage. Bernice was driving his Model Y in San Diego, California during rush hour traffic. While he was preparing to take an off-ramp, traffic in front of him started to slow down. A Camry behind him slowed down and swerved onto the shoulder to avoid rear-ending Bernice. But the driver behind it wasn't paying attention and hit their brakes very late. Fortunately, the Tesla's instant torque made it possible for Bernice to quickly accelerate away, avoiding getting rear-ended by the other vehicle. Richard parked his blue Model Y near a blue Model S. He asked us to say that blue is the best color. Have you noticed that Richard likes blue? So yeah, 2 blue Teslas. When he came back, he found a shopping cart resting against his car. He was annoyed that the cart demon had finally gotten to his car. Curious, he opened up Sentry Mode to see what had happened, and he almost couldn't believe his eyes. It wasn't the cart demon after all. It was the Model S owner who'd been too lazy to put the cart away and left it next to Richard's Model Y instead. Richard was feeling pretty blue after seeing this, since he'd assumed that blue Tesla owners would look out for each other. Thankfully, there was no damage to his Tesla's blue paint. Blue! Peter was driving home after getting dinner with his wife. As he went to take an exit, a truck driver changed his mind about exiting and merged across 3 lanes, almost crashing into their Tesla. Peter wanted to contact the police and report the driver, but he's been unable to get a clear view of the license plate. Peter and his wife got married a week before this happened. Peter says they love watching Wham Bam Tesla Cam together and that he'd like us to give a shout out to his wife Sydney. Congratulations! Joe had stopped at a red light in San Diego, California when a truck pulled up beside him. When the light turned green, the truck driver immediately cut him off to get to the freeway on-ramp on the right. Fortunately, this happened while a cop was right on his tail and he got pulled over right away. Gotta love that instant justice. Joe sent us another story, and this time he was driving his Model Y on the freeway in San Diego, California. Some crazy guy walked from the highway center divider to the number 4 lane and stood there taunting drivers. The driver of a white car hit the brakes just in time to avoid hitting him, and Joe slowed down and swerved away from him. There were no news reports regarding this man, so as far as we know, he wasn't harmed. Mervis was heading down the highway to pick up his daughter from volleyball practice when he saw a car nearly run a stop sign before running into oncoming traffic. Even after they'd managed to stop, the driver decided to turn into oncoming traffic anyway. Mervis was able to avoid the accident, but the car next to him was hit head-on. Mervis called 911. When the police arrived, he gave them a copy of his Tesla Cam footage. They couldn't believe how many angles his cameras had covered. Old Geek was driving in Peterborough, Ontario, when a traffic light up ahead turned yellow. He slowed down to stop, but the driver of a Ford Focus flew into the intersection, striking a Volvo XC70. The Old Geek provided his name and phone number to both drivers and let them know he had Tesla Cam footage. He was later called by the Volvo driver and by the Ford driver's insurance provider, and he provided the Tesla Cam footage to both of them. Dr. C was driving his Model Y in New York City when the driver of a Honda in front of him first started to make a right turn, then hit the brakes and made a left turn instead. Dr. C braked hard in an attempt to avoid crashing into the Honda, but he couldn't stop in time and bumped into it. The impact knocked the front bumper cover partially off its mounting points and damaged the paint in several places as well. The Honda driver was super nice and apologetic, and they offered up all their contact info immediately, so Dr. C didn't even need to call the police. He's filed an insurance claim, and the outcome is currently pending. Diego was driving his Model 3 in Vancouver, British Columbia when a baby squirrel appeared out of nowhere and ran in front of his car to cross the street. Diego slowed down, but the squirrel changed its mind and started running back to the sidewalk. He didn't have time to brake, so he did his best to avoid running it over. Diego wasn't sure if he'd missed it until he watched the footage. Thankfully, the squirrel survived. Diego isn't sure if autopilot reacted at all or if he's solely responsible for this evasive maneuver. Let us know what you think in a comment. Mac was driving his Model 3 on State Road 417 in Orlando, Florida, when a piece of trash flew out of a garbage truck. Mac couldn't avoid it, so it ended up smacking into his front bumper. There was no visible damage, and luckily, Mac thinks it was just foam or cardboard. Daniel was heading home after go-kart racing with his dad when they stopped at a traffic light. When the light turned green, he started to go, but then he heard tires screeching. At first, he assumed it was the Subaru BRZ that was behind him making all the noise. Then he looked to his left and saw an SUV heading straight at him. He smashed the juice pedal and the SUV missed the car by inches. The SUV driver continued on, but Daniel had to pull over and take a breather after this close call. This submitter was up in Mammoth for a snowboarding trip and had parked his Tesla outside the hotel. While reviewing his Sentry Mode events the next day, he was surprised to see this one that had happened at 3 a.m. Don't keep food in your car, especially in bear country. Elon Musketeer, wait, what? Anyway, Elon was driving his Model 3 in Toronto, Ontario. As he approached an intersection with a green light, he was just about to drive through it when a police officer stopped him. At first, he didn't really know why he'd been stopped, but then he saw a convoy of black cars approaching up ahead. Some big shot was passing through in a convoy of 8 black trucks. I don't know, 4 seems like good security, 6 is showing off, but 8? Now that's just overkill.
Wham, bam, Tesla cam. I hope you're satisfied.
Michael was driving his Model 3 in Chino, California. While exiting State Route 71, a big rig flipped over in front of him. Michael told us this happens all the time on the ramps at this exit. It's a rather sharp turn, and the trucks usually come in way too fast from the off-ramp if the traffic light is green. Luckily, it wasn't in the left lane with a car on the right. That wouldn't have been a good story to tell. Some city construction workers rushed over to help the driver escape his overturned truck. The driver seems fine based on the footage captured by Michael's passenger side camera. Joseph was driving his Model Y in Austin, Texas when traffic stopped fairly quickly for a dog in the road. Joseph came to a complete stop, and when he noticed a pickup coming up behind him, he moved up a bit to give it some more room. Both vehicles managed to stop completely, but the Texas Disposal Service garbage truck didn't. It plowed into the pickup truck, which was then pushed into Joseph's Tesla. Clearly, the driver hadn't been paying attention as he crashed into them at full speed. Thankfully, nobody was in the oncoming lane at the time, or else they would have collided head-on with the garbage truck. There were no serious injuries, and everyone involved walked away. Joseph's 2 75-pound Pyre Doodles were in the back of his Model Y, and they'd been thrown against the back of the driver's seat. They were quite shaken up, but they felt better after Joseph let them out to walk around. There were no passengers in the pickup truck, but the driver was transporting 2 vintage mopeds which had been damaged. The truck collapsed like an accordion thanks to the force of the impact, since the garbage truck driver said his truck was almost fully loaded. Obviously, all the fault lies with the garbage truck driver, and the pickup driver and Joseph weren't at fault. Joseph is now waiting to hear his repair estimate. Keith was traveling through a construction zone on I-85 just north of Spartanburg, South Carolina. There were two semi-trucks overtaking another truck, but then they matched speed and were traveling side by side. The truck in the right lane had almost passed the truck in the left lane when it suddenly swerved into the left lane, making contact with the other truck. It looks like the truck driver was trying to avoid running into the back of another vehicle. He eventually pulled over, and the vehicle he'd been trying to avoid kept going down the road. Keith doesn't think the driver of the other vehicle realized they'd almost been run over by a semi. He'd also like to give a shout out to the EV Hybrid Noir Facebook group of EV owners. While Steve was merging onto I-5 in Salem, Oregon, a car collided with a transport truck and went careening out of control and into the on-ramp. Steve stopped and called 911, and police and paramedics were dispatched to assist the driver. In the end, they were okay. Code Red was driving to his job at SpaceX on I-405 early one morning. Autopilot was set at 65 miles per hour when, all of a sudden, he was rear-ended by a white Mercedes sedan going a lot faster than he was. It instantly blew apart his left rear wheel, forcing him to pull over. It looked like the driver of the Mercedes also pulled over, but they were too far ahead for Code Red to drive and catch up. While he was on the phone with the police, the driver pulled away. As of this video's release, we don't know if the police ever found them. He says it felt like autopilot kept him from spinning out after the pit maneuver style impact. Code Red has Tesla insurance, and they're treating the accident as an uninsured hit and run unless the police find the other party. His repair estimate came to $8,100 US. If anyone knows anything about the Mercedes that hit him, please contact us so we can forward the information to the submitter. F Money was driving his Model 3 in Delray Beach, Florida. He was exiting a shopping plaza when he noticed another car that was behaving a little strangely. The driver nearly crashed into a car parked on the side of the road, but they swerved to avoid it at the last second. He then drove so close to the curb, it was nerve-wracking for F Money to watch. Eventually, he hit the curb, and F Money decided to keep his distance. Check out what happened next. Hey guys, if you can see that red subscribe button, that means you're not subscribed to the Wham Bam channel yet. It would mean the world to us if you would do that, so please hit that subscribe button. F Money pulled over, and the driver was an older man who seemed to be having a medical emergency or who'd taken too much of something. Another possibility is that the crash itself caused him to be incoherent. F Money asked him if he was okay, and he said he was, but according to F Money, he obviously wasn't. He called 911 and showed his Tesla cam footage to the police when they arrived, letting them handle the situation from there. Andy was driving his Model 3 with autopilot engaged in Stockholm, Sweden. Suddenly, autopilot alerted him to something going on in front of him. A moment later, he saw a wheelbarrow emerge from under the car in front of him. He tried to swerve around it, but it was too late. Andy couldn't believe what had happened, and he stopped and reviewed the footage just to make sure that it really was a wheelbarrow. He noticed that the guy in front of him checked his car for damage before taking off. Andy called the cops and went to look for the wheelbarrow down the road, but he had no luck finding it and thinks someone else must have picked it up. The responding police officer had a laugh when Andy showed him the Tesla cam footage. He said it was one of the most comical things he'd ever seen anyone hit on the road. Andy wasn't laughing as much, even though he appreciated the cops' friendly tone. He had his Tesla towed to a tire shop where he spent $600 US on new tires. Luckily, the rims were okay, and he admits it could have been much worse. Nick was parked outside a bowling He had his Tesla towed to a tire shop where he spent $600 US on new tires. Luckily, the rims were okay, and he admits it could have been much worse. Nick was parked outside a bowling He had his Tesla towed to a tire shop where he spent $600 on new tires. Luckily, the rims were okay, and he admits it could have been much worse.
Hey everybody, I have a lot of fire extinguishers, as you can see up there, and commonly in my videos I'll whip one of them out and spray it, and when I do spray it, water comes out. For those who don't know, most fire extinguishers are actually filled up with dry chemical. That right there is one that has not been sprayed yet, and therefore it has dry chemical in it. Now when I do spray them and they're empty, I figured out a way to refill them back up with water so I can kind of use them for fun or for protection around the house. My house has a wood stove and water is perfect for putting out wood-involved fires. So I always keep one of these filled up with water and pressurized so that if something ever went wrong, I could use it. I do not recommend using the trick I'm about to show you to repressurize extinguishers and putting them back into service. The manufacturer doesn't recommend it, I don't recommend it, but if you're gonna do it, you can do it. And this might come as a surprise, but it's actually kind of fun spraying a fire extinguisher. So here's one that I actively have filled up with water, and yeah. So what I'm going to show you today is how to fill one of these up with water and pressurize it. So the first thing you're going to need is a fire extinguisher. Now you can replace one of the older ones in your house with a new fire extinguisher and then spray the old one out and use that one, or you can just go to the store and get one. These ones are only about $15 to $20. Once the extinguisher is fully discharged of its pressure, you're going to want to go ahead and open it like a water bottle. Now, I'm just going to warn you, when you do this for the first time, it will be extremely hard. Some of them will feel impossible to open, and others not. Once you do finally get it open, you can go ahead and take it out, and you'll just find the tube. And then what you're going to want to go ahead and do is fill this up about 75 to 50% full of water. And we'll go on to the next step. Alright, I've gone ahead and filled mine back up, and then once it's filled up, go ahead and twist it back all the way so that now it is on how it was normally on, and none of the water will escape when you pressurize it. Alright, the next part is going to be the hardest part of the operation. What I do to pressurize the extinguisher is I take a portable hand pump, I take the nozzle of it, and then put it into the nozzle of the fire extinguisher, and then I squeeze the levers of the fire extinguisher, which opens the valve up inside, and then I simply pressure it. Now, I normally give it about 200 psi. No, I'm just kidding. 200 psi is way too much. Regardless if the extinguisher is big or small, I find that about 50 psi has always been good enough. So don't use any more than 50 psi. And I do have a gauge right here on the pump so I can see the PSI as I'm pressuring it. And one more note, when you are pressurizing the extinguisher, make sure the nozzle of the extinguisher is pointed away from you and not at anything vital, as if something came loose, you wouldn't want water flying at an expensive camera. So we're going to go ahead and pump it up. One foot there, and here we go. And that's all it takes. And when you pressure it up, you can see that the gauge of the extinguisher does read full, so 50 psi was all it needed. But commonly when you do this, it will not read full, as 50 psi is commonly not enough to make it read full. But just note, your extinguisher, even if it doesn't read full, it definitely does have pressure, and it will definitely work. When you are doing this, if there is a real fire extinguisher that's in service and it's not rating full, you're definitely going to want to replace that fire extinguisher. And once your extinguisher is all pressurized, you can do whatever you want with it, and you could even clean your car. I have a friend that has been known to use these during water fights. And when that happens, he always owns everyone. When you try to repressurize a fire extinguisher with a tube, it gets a lot harder really fast, but it still can be done. I've managed to do it dozens of times. Well, thank you all for watching and have a great day. Not kidding, it's seriously fun. Woo! At the fire department, we have fire extinguishers that are actually meant for water, and they're super big and they hold a lot of water. And they're actually used a lot more often than you would think. Hey friends, welcome back to the next system test with my ADT Unimode 10UD conventional. Welcome back to the next system test with the ADT Unimode 10UD fire alarm control system. This is a 10-zone conventional fire alarm control panel. Hey friends, welcome back to the next system test with my ADT Unimode 4903-. And then going over, we have that was loud. 2 horns going at once. As we can see, I do have it wired up so that the strobe continues to flash even though the alarm system is silenced, and I do like that feature. We'll go ahead and pull the second pull station. Here we go. Gone ahead and silenced it from the Firelight ANN80 fire alarm annunciator. It's basically a mini fire alarm control panel that's connected to the main control panel. And the key activates the buttons. Okay, we'll go ahead and reset the pull stations and then move on. So these T-bars are extremely easy to reset. You just stick the key in, open it, and then close it. On the inside, there's just a button. And then same thing for the double action one. Now a little info about this double action one. Yes, it is technically double action because it has this push part right here, but it is actually not essential. You could just pull the alarm without pushing it in. It just adds a little extra barrier. Just a little fun fact I thought I'd share. And we can go ahead and reset the fire alarm control panel. Alright everyone, I think we're gonna get a little crazy. It's not often I've done this, but I just set both of the fire alarms to continuous. And if you don't know what that is, well, you're about to. I haven't done this that often, and I'm about to do it. And I'm gonna use the fire drill button on the annunciator to do it. Alright, and 3, 2, 1. That was loud. Okay, that is enough of that. Reset the fire alarm system and that is done. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and show you the medical pull station. This is the 32AXK2 blue pull station that has a custom label as medical, which is pretty cool. And then going up, I have a GECG24PWW Gentex Commander 3 white horn strobe. and it has a green strobe, and it is set on 60 candela. And it is set on chime, as this is a multi-tone alarm, which is pretty cool. Since this is also a medical alarm, I also have it set up so that the medical corridor light by Tectone will also turn on when the pull station is pulled. So we can go ahead and pull it and see what happens. Since this is wired up as a medical alarm, that also means that these Tectone pull cords will also work, so we can go ahead and test that out. I've gone ahead and programmed the last relay to also activate for a medical emergency, so that means all 3 extra devices that I have on the system, which is the siren, the horn strobe, and the corridor light, all 3 will go off at the same time for a medical pull station that's pulled. So we'll go ahead and pull the last one and see everything go off. That gets loud. So I was thinking, what if we set off every notification appliance on the fire alarm system? Turn down your volume, this is about to get crazy loud. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Okay, that was insane. I'm not doing that again. All right, everyone, have a good day.
Okay, welcome back to the next system test with the Firelight addressable fire alarm control system and the Wheelock mass notification speaker system. In this test, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about what voice evacuation systems do. We're going to be demonstrating a fire alarm, and I'm going to be demonstrating this general emergency signal. So this system that I've created is a very high-tech system. This is usually something you would see on a bigger building with multiple levels. So instead of evacuation by horn signals, like on most fire alarm systems, this system has evacuation by speakers, by voice commands paging throughout the building, kind of like a PA system. So the speakers are actually inside of the fire alarms, and let's say a fire alarm event comes up or an emergency event comes up, what these systems can do is they can play pre-recorded messages telling you exactly what the emergency is and how to react. So these systems don't only communicate more information to the occupants of the building when an emergency happens, but if you choose, you can evacuate the building by certain sections at a time, or only evacuate a part of the building. And that's what makes these systems really great for larger facilities. So for this system, I have the Firelight MS9200 UDLS as my main fire alarm control panel. I have it wired so that this exact system right here powers all the strobes on the fire alarms and is wired into all of the initiating devices and the annunciator, as well as all the modules. This is the Cooper Notification SP-MNS SafePath Mass Notification System. It's basically a big amplifier. And when this system receives an alarm signal, it communicates to the amplifier what kind of signal it is, and then the amplifier will send the correct series of messages or tones to the speakers that are throughout the building. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate that. We'll pull a fire alarm, and then we'll see this panel activate, and then we'll see this panel activate. Here we go. That's the Firelight BG12LX pull station.
emergency has been reported in the building. While this is being verified, please leave the building by the nearest exit.
So what I did there is I went ahead and silenced the alarm by pushing the alarm silence button. And what that did is it told the Wheelock SafePath to stop playing the tones and messages throughout the speakers. Now we're going to pretend that there's still a fire emergency, so that's why the strobes are still flashing. The alarm is only silenced and not reset yet. As you can see, this is an addressable fire alarm system, and what that means is even though all these devices are on one circuit, it can tell the difference between this pull station, and this smoke detector. So I pulled this pull station and it recognized that it was on the floor 3 office. To reset this pull station, just put the key in, open it, and then close it. This is the addressable module, and then you see this light turned on when the pull station is pulled, while the others just normally blink. And now we can go ahead and reset the entire system just by pushing the reset button. You don't have to push it. You could push the reset button on this, which is the fire alarm control panel, but I'm going to push it on this. This is a manual annunciator. This basically allows you to control basic parts of the fire alarm system without being at the fire alarm control panel. This is very nice because if there's a fire in between you and the control panel, you can just go to the annunciator and work it from there. So on this system, I also wired in and programmed in a general emergency feature, and that's really nice when you need to evacuate the building, but it's not a fire emergency because you don't want to be sending mixed signals through the strobes in the fire alarm system. So let's say there's a bomb threat or there's a gas leak or something going on throughout the building and you need to evacuate the building. I programmed in this feature where you just push this emergency push station. The alert strobe will begin to flash, not the fire strobe, and the speakers, not the strobes, the speakers will start playing an emergency evacuation message in tones. So that's all wired in through this, and we're going to see it in action. So here we go.
May I have your attention, please? An emergency has been reported in the building. While this is being verified, please leave the building and report to the designated assembly area for your group. May I have your attention, please? An emergency has been reported in the building. While this is being verified, please leave the building and report to the designated assembly area for your group.
So that's a really nice feature. Alright, that's the video. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Rate, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day, everyone.
Hey there everyone, today we're going to be doing another test with my ADT Unimode 10UD 10 zone conventional fire alarm control panel. As you can see, I've swapped out some different alarms and different pull stations, and I'm going to show you them today. First thing here, we have a Pyrotronics BDC-624 audible bell. This thing is being coded to march time by the fire alarm control panel. The next device we have here is a visual Cooper Wheelock LSTW-NA. This is actually the box it came in, and as you can see, it is a Wheelock LED exceeder, and it is set on 15 candela. This device was actually sent to me for free by Best Security Systems last Christmas, so thank you very much for that. Finally gonna get to use it. The final notification appliance that we're gonna be testing today, or should I say pair of notification appliances, is this interesting setup right here. As you can see, I have a Wheelock RSS fire alarm, strobe only, and it is mounted on a Siemens alert strobe plate. And Siemens is just a rebrand of Wheelock. Well, this device is at least. For pull stations, we have a CPG Life Safety Signals double action pull station, and over on the right, we have a Faraday F Safety Signals. This device is at least. For pull stations, is just a rebrand of Wheelock. Well, this device plate and Siemens, and it is mounted on a Siemens alert strobe plate. Alarm, strobe only, and it is mounted on a Siemens Alert strobe plate. And Siemens is just a rebrand of Wheelock. Well, this device is at least. For pull stations, we have a CPG Life Safety Signals double action pull station, and over on the right we have a Faraday F1 GT Chevron. I haven't used these two devices in a while. Right here we have an STI emergency push station. This emergency button is what activates the Amber Alert strobes. For today's test, we're going to be testing just the 3 initiating devices that I showed you, and we will start off by pulling the CPG Life Signals double action pull station. This is kind of an interesting pull station. To activate it, you have to pull this little piece of plastic out. It's kind of like a little door to the pull handle, and then you just pull this part down. So let me do that again. This is activated.
When it comes to series that exemplify creativity and showcasing wacky, unfiltered imagination, I don't think there are many better examples than the adventures of the OG Rhythm King himself, Parappa the Rapper. A series that, despite not having seen any new releases since way back in 2001, has long since remained dormant in the public's imagination, clinging on tightly to its own tiny recess on the fringe of popular culture. Always popping up in parodies and discussions of gaming history when you least expect it. For context, it's a series of rhythm games in which you play as Parappa, a rapping dog who freestyles his way through an endless series of bizarre, surreal scenarios, and a franchise that has really left an impression on the hearts and minds of its fans, even after 25 years, and is currently experiencing a sort of mini revival in interest. There are all sorts of recent memes and mods that have been made in tribute to this little guy. And more than anything, this new wave of passion is a testament to this series' everlasting charm, as well as its strong aesthetic prowess. For these are certainly not games that are remembered for their gameplay alone, being actually quite dated and inaccessible in their design by today's standards. Nor are they games with much of a shelf life, all being notoriously short with practically no competitive scene or modding community to speak of either. In short, the Parappa franchise is one that is remembered almost exclusively on the basis of its absolutely banger music, charming characters, and just the sheer unfiltered force of its imagination and originality. It's a series that was at its peak when it was fully embracing new ideas and experimentation, and quickly began to shrivel once it began conforming to its own pre-established conventions. And on top of all this, it also has a very unique history.